I want to talk about something that most readers never consciously notice, but always subconsciously feel. It's the way a book looks on the inside. The spacing of the lines, the size of the margins, the font choice, the way headings are treated, the way a chapter opening feels different from the rest of the text. When all of this is done well, readers don't notice it. The reading experience just feels comfortable, natural, easy. When it's done poorly, something feels off, even if they can't explain what. And in self-publishing, that feeling, that subtle sense of unprofessionalism, is one of the things that separates books that readers recommend from books that quietly disappear. So let's talk about page counts, layout, and typesetting, because these three things are deeply connected.
Page count. How long should your book actually be? Page count is influenced by your word count, your trim size, your font, and your line spacing. It also affects your printing cost on Amazon KDP, which affects your minimum price, which affects your royalties. So it matters more than you might expect. Here are some general benchmarks to work from. Children's picture books typically run 24 to 48 pages. Novellas sit around 100 to 150. Commercial fiction, thrillers, romance, most genre fiction tends to land between 250 and 380 pages. Literary fiction gives itself more room, up to 450. Nonfiction how-to books are often 150 to 300 pages. Memoirs usually land between 200 and 350. These aren't rules, they're reader expectations. A business book that's 600 pages feels padded. A thriller that's 120 pages feels rushed. Match your length to your genre and your content, and you'll be in good shape.
Trim size, the physical dimensions of your book. Trim size is simply how big your printed book is. And the size you choose affects everything, from how many pages you end up with to how your cover needs to be designed. The most popular trim size for adult nonfiction, memoir, and most fiction is 6 by 9 inches. It's the standard trade paperback size, and readers recognize it instinctively. 5.5 by 8.5 is also very common, especially for fiction. 5 by 8 has a slightly more literary feel. It's often used for poetry or smaller creative works. And 8.5 by 11 is used for workbooks, journals, children's activity books, and anything with a lot of visual content. Choose your trim size early. It's one of those decisions that ripples through everything else. Interior layout. How the text lives on the page. Layout is the arrangement of text and white space, and there are several specific decisions that go into it. Margins need to be generous enough that text doesn't crowd the edges, and the inside margin, called the gutter, needs to be slightly larger than the outside margin to account for the spine. Standard margins run around 3/4 to 1 inch on the outside edges, with a slightly larger gutter on the inside. Font choice matters enormously. For print books, serif fonts, the ones with the small decorative strokes at the ends of letters, are significantly easier to read in long blocks of text. Garamond, Palatino, and Book Antiqua are classics for a reason. They've been refined over centuries, specifically for the purpose of being read on a page. Font size for standard adult books runs between 11 and 12 point. Line spacing, the gap between lines, is usually somewhere between 1.15 and 1.4. Too tight and it feels cramped, too loose and it feels like you're padding the page count. Justified alignment, text aligned on both the left and right edges, is standard for books. It's what readers expect, and it signals professionalism. Running headers and footers keep readers oriented. The header might show the book title on one side and the chapter title on the other. The footer typically holds page numbers. Typesetting, where all of this comes together. Typesetting is the process of applying every one of these layout decisions to your full manuscript. Every paragraph, every heading, every scene break, every page. It's a specialized craft, and it's genuinely harder to do well than it looks.
Poor typesetting is one of the most reliable ways to undermine a book that deserves better. Widows and orphans, those lonely single lines stranded at the top or bottom of a page, look sloppy. Inconsistent spacing between paragraphs feels messy. Wrong font choices undermine the genre. These are the details that don't show up in a word count, but absolutely show up in how a reader experiences your book. If you're confident in design tools and want to do this yourself, that's a valid path. But if the idea of mastering layout software sounds like a distraction from the writing and publishing work that actually excites you, that's what professional formatters are for. Authorly Publishing handles full interior formatting and typesetting, producing print-ready PDF files and properly structured ebook files that upload cleanly to Amazon KDP. You can reach them at authorly4u@gmail.com or info@authorly.net. Now, before your beautifully formatted book goes anywhere near a publisher, it needs one more thing: fresh eyes.